Good afternoon, guys. This afternoon had a little mishap with my car. Coming to work, I hit a pothole and I just started hearing a strange noise coming from the right side, passenger side front tire. I know it's a bad bearing, guys, so I went ahead and brought it into the shop and well, let me show you guys. Well, guys, I went ahead and lifted the car up and show you guys what this looks like. And let me go ahead and grab that wheel and show you guys. Yeah. That bearing is completely just fucked up, dude. So I went ahead and bought a bearing and a hub. Not sure if I'm gonna need that hub or not, but I decided to buy it for now. Just if I don't use it, I'll just return it. So let me go ahead and take this wheel off and well, guys, here 32 millimeter. To remove this, two little Phillips head screws holding the drum. These here are half, and for the caliper bracket, 17s. Got to get all this junk out of the way, and then we'll go ahead and continue. Well, guys, the 17 millimeter bolts holding that caliper bracket are in a very tight little area. Can't get the impact in there. So I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way, hammer and a wrench. It's gonna take us a little while to get this in, guys. We don't have to remove a whole bunch of stuff here, but once we get this bearing cradle out, we do have to take it over to the press, and we can hammer that bearing out. I mean, we don't really care for this bearing. It's already all messed up, but the new one has to be pressed in. I know they make other tools that use a long bolt and washers and so on and so forth, but I prefer to use a hydraulic press. It's just a lot easier. When we get to it, I'll go ahead and take the camera over and I'll show you guys how we press these things in. On that one there, guys, I loosened up the nut for the tie rod end, and I lift the nut on there a little bit, just hit the actual spindle, not the tie rod, a couple of times the vibrations so it can break this little seal and loosen up this tie rod. Now that I got that out of the way, I can go ahead and remove the lower ball joint, and then I can do these two and pull this spindle out, a hub bearing assembly, whatever you want to call it. Earlier I removed the caliper bracket and the little speed sensor. So let me get this bolt holding that ball joint. Ball joint has a peg going up, and it's got a bolt 17 millimeter going through it, holding the ball joint in place. And then of course these, I believe they're 21s. I got to get these two out, and this hub assembly should pop right out. Well, guys, there's a hub, the bearing, Well, there's the hub, a little spindle, the hub, and the bearing. Since I am going to replace the spindle and the bearing, I'm going to go ahead and hammer the heck out of this one, pull that hub out, because I don't want to damage this dust cover. In order to get this one off, I got to remove that hub. So I'm going to hammer the hell out of this one to get it out completely, remove this cover, and then take this to the press so that I can press this bearing out this way, install the new bearing, and install the new hub. So let me go ahead and get this over to the vise, and I'm going to start hammering away, guys. Well, guys, we do have an old little press here. Got to work smarter, not harder. So let me go ahead and use this press to push that spindle out and the bearing. Let me go ahead and set up for this one. Well, guys, pushed it out, broke the bearing. Now I'm gonna have to remove this little pin. It's got like a C-clip. You have to pry out to be able to push this bearing back out of this. So let me go ahead and set up for this one, guys. And well, this little spindle came out with part of the bearing on it, so I really don't care for this. I am going to replace it, so let me go ahead and set up for that one so I can go ahead and push that bearing out. Well, guys, I removed this clip that was holding the bearing in place. So now set up your spindle in a way that'll allow you to keep it somewhat flat. Set a socket that fits just a bit smaller than the bearing, the race, so that you can go ahead and use this socket to push the bearing out. And these suckers go in there kind of tight, guys, because I mean I had to use a big, let me show you. Had to use this on the jack just to be able to make it pop, because it's entered it. There you go, guys. The bearing is out. You don't want to throw this away just yet, because we have to use this to ram that new bearing into place. Let me get that new bearing. I'm gonna add grease all around that bearing and the hub so that it'll make it easier for it to actually go in. Right back, guys. Well, guys, on this one, bearing hub lays flat on a flat piece of steel. Set your new bearing in place. set the old bearing over the new bearing. Gonna have to widen this up a bit. That was a little too much, but oh, not enough, guys. So and on this one, bearing goes in a lot easier. I mean, it's a brand new bearing. We greased it up a bit. So as you can see, I mean, I'm using a little screwdriver on the jack, and that's enough leverage for me to push that bearing into place. And that's it, guys. Bearing is in. Let's go ahead and get this hub into place. Here, guys, I don't have to use a socket of any type. The ram is wider than that spindle, so I don't have to use a socket. And today it's been somewhat of a long, hectic day, guys. Been working on buses, and now I gotta do this and also, so and there we go, guys. We got the spindle ready to install, so I'm going to go ahead and get the camera a little closer, but I'm going to do it on a time lapse, so I think the video is going to be a little too long, so I'm going to go ahead and do it a little bit faster time lapse, that way I don't, oh, we'll see what happens, guys. Let me go ahead and get this thing done. Well guys, my camera went off for a little while, so I don't know what you guys missed, but I mean it's pretty simple. We got the ball joint in place, got the bolt through it tightened. We put the 2 bolts on the strut mount, put them through, tightened them, put this little speed sensor in there, and basically tightened the 32 millimeter nut on this CV axle. So basically our bearing is on there, and we just got to finish up the assembly, basically tie rod end, caliper bracket, caliper, and brakes. So let me go ahead and continue. And don't forget your cotter pins, guys. That won't let the nut back out. Okay, that's that. There we go. Here's this little cradle. Get this one in place. Hold on, guys. We're forgetting a very important part, our rotor. Our 2 little Phillips screws. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and do the rest in time lapse, guys. Well guys, that was how to install a bearing on a 2013 Sonata. You saw how loose the tire was when before I took it apart. Now check this out. All the play is gone, so we're going to consider this one done, fixed, and well, thanks for watching, guys, and like and subscribe.